Women's Day to all of you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, first of all, to our principal, who always is very supportive and ensures everything happens as smoothly as possible. I would like to extend a very warm welcome, as well as thank all my speakers for today. Thank you for being here. Um, and thank you to all my colleagues and all the students who've joined for the celebration. And I would call it a celebration of Women's Day. Just 2 minutes I will take to sort of speak something which I think is relevant for today. And I'll also take 1 minute to just very briefly introduce the speakers. That will be done later as well. A gender equal society would be one where the word gender does not exist, where everyone can be themselves. So said Gloria Steinem. I think that's a simple yet encompassing idea about the struggle, the fight, and the celebration that International Women's Day is all about. It is the fight to reclaim our place in this universe, to make ourselves heard, to free ourselves to simply be whatever we choose to be. A day celebrating women can rightly perhaps be seen as mere tokenism, but given the fact that each day is a struggle in a private and public space, it is important to celebrate our victories, big and small. And the day is a way of commemorating how far we have come. Some of us have come. Women who have, and all the women who have made it possible, our mothers, our grandmothers, and to remind ourselves about the work that is yet to be done. As Toni Morrison said, the function of freedom is to free somebody else. Let's work towards that every single day in every which way. Let's break the bias, let us roar, let's make ourselves seen and heard loudly and clearly. And we have an amazing panel of speakers today who, in their lives, in their work that they do, they embody the hashtag of this International Women's Day of 2022. Our first speaker is Lily Pandya, Joint Secretary at the Ministry of Culture, Government of India. Bornali Das, Head of Corporate Communications, Uber India South Asia. Then we have Wing Commander Vidhu Singh, who's a veteran of the Indian Air Force, fighter aircraft engineer, team member of the Balakot airstrike, and Shalini Vats, who's an actor. You must have seen her in a host of films as well as on the OTT platforms in Sacred Games, Ludo, Gurgaon, Peeply Live, and so on. Warm welcome to each one of you and thank you once again. Before I hand over the virtual platform to each of our amazing speakers, I would request our principal, sir, to say a few words. And thank you again so much for being here. Thanks a lot. And thanks for all the support.
Thank you, Sibani. Good morning to all. And happy International Women's Day to each and everyone who is present in this program. Esteemed speakers, Ms. Lily Pandya, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Culture, Government of India. Wing Commander Vidhu Singh, Indian Air Force. Ms. Barnali Das, Head Corporate Commerce, Uber India. And Ms. Shalini Vats, Dr. Sibani Phukan, convener for WDC, Women Development Cell of the college, other colleagues, members of the society, and my dear student. I congratulate everyone on the occasion of International Women's Day. On the day you are going to discuss on a very important topic, and which is theme for the year, break the bias. I'm glad that Sibani, you have invited 4 speakers, and they are veterans and leaders in their field, in their areas. So I welcome them in this program, and I'm grateful that they have given their valuable time to deliver their lecture, to discuss to share their experiences with the students, with the teachers, and with all of us. In ARST, we try that there should be no biasedness on the basis of gender, caste, creed, religion, everything. We try. But to break the biasness, what I think that people should change their mindset. And for this, education of the people is very important. We, the teachers, we, the leaders of the society, can contribute in this area. We can educate them where the biasness arises in our families. So I think for women's, in fact, I have done little bit research on women discourse. So I think and I feel that there, and I have seen just now and I experienced that there should be sisterhood in women's, so that you can provide the opportunities to others who have not on the front line and who had not in the mainstream. So, and we should try to teach them, to educate them who does not understand what is their rights, what are their rights, and how can be they empowered for the future. So my best wishes to all of you, and I congratulate once again to my team of WDC of the college led by Dr. Sivani Fukan, that she have organized this wonderful program for all of us. And once again, I welcome you all. Thank you so much. Thank you. Over to Sivani.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Sisterhood, I think, is possibly the most enabling idea of the feminist movement, and sisterhood, I think, becomes stronger with all the support, all the holding up that wonderful men like. I think our principal exemplifies that. I think we work towards, I think, holding up each other. So thank you for all the help, all the support that you always extend to us. And before I hand over the proceedings of the day to Shilpa, my student volunteer, a very hardworking girl. I would just want to say that all four of the speakers also have a Delhi University connect. Three of them are from the university, and even Vidhu spent some time in Delhi University, a few months. She told me. So I think our university plays a wonderful role in creating in sort of help giving us a platform to become the women that we do. So and also a little aside, I'm really happy to have both Lily and Shalini here, because they're also my seniors from college. So that again sort of that's Delhi University bonding, and privileged to call all these amazing women my friends. Bonali is an old friend of mine. So this is what sisterhood is about. This is about women holding up each other, women being there for each other, taking time out for each other. So thank you so much for doing this. Shilpa, all yours now.
Now I would take a moment and unveil the logo of WDC on the occasion of International Women's Day.
That's the logo, which has been designed by our students. So we did not have our logo before this, so we've just done that. So that's the logo designed by our students.
Now, I would request Dr. Syed Mubin Zahra ma'am to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Lily Pandey.
Thank you, Shridhar. It gives me immense pleasure. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. It gives me immense pleasure, first of all, to be part of this amazing team. And like our principal sir said that we should vouch for sisterhood. And I think this our team WDC is a great example. And like what Shibani said, that this entire event itself signifies that perspective. So going with that feeling, I feel immensely honored to introduce our first speaker, Miss Lily Pandya. She is at present, Lily Pandya is a civil servant. At present, she's working and serving as the Joint Secretary, Ministry of Culture, Government of India. Ms. Pandya comes with a professional experience of over 22 years in various aspects of public administration, human resource management, manpower planning, and industrial relations. She has worked extensively in the field as well as the policy making level in the ministries. So our first speaker is one who definitely signifies breaking the glass ceiling. In her current assignment, she's in charge of museums, IGNCA, and UNESCO matters related with ICH, while also holding the additional charge of Director, Nehru Memorial Museum and Library. Miss Lily, in her previous tenure, was responsible for setting up the first of its kind National Rail and Transportation University under the aegis of Ministry of Railways. Lily Pandya ji has attended several seminars, training programs, and advanced professional program in public administration from Indian Institute of Public Administration, Delhi, Strategic Management Program, Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, Advanced Management Program at INSET, Singapore, Advanced Management Program at the ICLIF, Leadership and Governance Center, Kuala Lumpur, and Management Development Program in Human Resource Management on and Organizational Behavior at Xavier Labor Research Institute, XLRI, India. Ms. Pandya holds an MPhil in Public Administration from the Punjab University, India. She has also acquired the Master of Public Administration from San Diego State University, California, USA, and a Master of Arts in History from Jawaharlal Nehru University, India. Ms. Pandya has been recognized by the California State Assembly as a distinguished alumni for community and civic engagement. She received the V.K.N. Menon Award for Academic Excellence from IIPA and John Fowler Award Scholarship from SDSU. She also received Director's Gold Medal at Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration and Ratan Lal Trophy for Best Probationer at National Academy of Indian Railways, Vadodara, among other awards and recognition. Ms. Pandya has been a regular guest speaker in several national and international seminars and conferences. Just last month, she had organized a global summit, and what a summit, Ms. Pandya, it was, reimagining museums in India. It was attended by museologists and museum professionals from 8 countries and delegates from 70 countries. And I can vouch for this. This was one of a kind, first kind of it itself. She was also instrumental in getting Durga Puja in Kolkata inscribed in UNESCO's representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity in 2021. Thank you for that so much. She has been a guest faculty in ICLIF Malaysia's flagship program, Women of the World, Be the Change, hosted by First HR Roundtable of Indian Railways, and been a regular speaker and panelist in several seminars, conclaves, talks organized by various PSUs and institutions like National Institute of Personnel Management, Indian Society for Training Development, and among others. I can go on and on. Lily has also co-authored a coffee table book titled Art and Railways, a Bangalore Saga. It was published by National Rail Museum in India in 2014. Ms. Pandya says that she enjoys music, haiku poetry, and follows international climate debates. Yeah. So it gives me an immense pleasure to welcome Ms. Lily Pandya. I can only say that she is an example of consistency, hard work, and knowledge. And this is a package which it's very rare to be found. And we are really proud of her achievement and of all the things. I'm really proud, Lily, to welcome you to this session of Women's International Day. Welcome. And I'm sure the students are going to really benefit, and we are also going to benefit from your knowledge that you're going to share with us. Welcome. Aapka khair maqdam hai, Lily.
Thank you so much. The name is just Pandey with an A. So anyway, namaste and many greetings to all of you. Thank you for those kind words, my dear friend from JNU days, Mubin. Professor Gyantosh Kumar Jha, Principal ARSD, University of Delhi. Dr. Shibani Phukan, Convener Women Development Cell. Barnali Das, Wing Commander Vidhu Singh and Shalini Vats, my fellow speakers and truly phenomenal women. I am deeply honored and grateful to ARSD College for this opportunity of speaking to all of you in their International Women's Day program. United Nations theme for this year's International Women's Day, aptly titled Breaking the Bias, Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow, focused on leadership among women, uncovering the sources of leadership energy, and recognizing the forces shaping the 21st century. Without gender equality today, a sustainable future and an equal future remains beyond our reach. I am delighted to be in company of such accomplished people and remarkable women, each of whom has walked down what was not too long ago considered the untrodden path with confidence and determination. I see around me trailblazers, innovators, explorers, and disruptors who influence, inspire, and impact. From professors and students of this premier institution, to an officer of the Indian Air Force, to the head of corporate communications for Uber India and South Asia, and a phenomenal actor. I salute this day and the women's movement that created the space that has allowed many of us to walk down what was not too long ago considered the untrodden path. And as we pause to reflect on our journey through the corridors of time, let us take a look at the very fact of all of us being here today. Each of us probably has a story to tell. We have overcome difficulties, maybe endured bad luck, and made some lousy decisions, but we dared to dream and have been fortunately born in a time when we have been able to pursue some of them, if not all of them. We have had second, third, and 103rd chances. We have had the autonomy, resources, and options denied to women. Some we know very well, some we may call our grandmothers and aunts, just a few generations ago, and which continue to be denied to women in this country and elsewhere. With more than 112 International Women's Day festivities behind us, you and I have been lucky. And that's because of the brave men and women who fought for the rights and equality for women and challenged the status quo, who had the courage to reject that's just how things are and laid down how things should be, ought to be. So let us recognize and celebrate our heroes and sheroes and make sure that we sing of her story as much as we sing of history. And in doing so, in trying to think about how we can make a big difference, we must not ignore the small daily differences that we can make, which over time add up to the big differences that we often cannot foresee. Now, today there are numerous examples of women leading from the corner offices, breaking new ground, banking big bucks, driving the national dialogue, leading in games and sports, defending the homeland, striking out on their own, pushing the frontiers, changing the rules of engagement. When Mubin asked me to speak to all of you today on the occasion of International Women's Day, I told her that let me talk about something that I experience on a daily basis and at a very personal level. Let me talk about women in civil services. With a national character and acting as a strong binding force, civil services in India have contributed a great deal to the development story of our nation. The high ethical standards, professionalism, independence, and the quality of advice it provides are both acknowledged and valued, and have earned it the sobriquet of the steel frame of Indian polity and governance. Now, the civil services engage a very large workforce of about 6.4 million employees at all levels within the central and the state governments. But as far as the representation of women in civil services as a whole is concerned, they are grossly underrepresented, particularly at the senior levels. And this matters. It matters because the civil services must represent, understand, and respond to the concerns of those whom it serves. 50% of the nation is women. Now, the disparity begins right at the start of the process. Now, although for women, the fee of rupees 100 for the preliminary exams and rupees 200 for the main exam is waived, we still have, for every 10 men, only 3 women appear in the civil services. Over 28% women have qualified for the UPSC this year, as against 23% in 2019. By this year, I mean 2020-21. In 2018, 17, and 16, the percentage of women qualifying the services were only 24.24%, 24%, and 23.3% respectively. Despite the improvement in numbers, women continue to have less than 30% representation in the services. Now, is a better performance or better representation equivalent to enough representation? I don't think so. Now, as of January 3rd, 2022, that is just last month, only 14% of the 92 secretaries to Government of India were women. Across the 36 states and union territories, there were only 2 women chief secretaries as of December 3rd, 21. India has never had a woman cabinet secretary till date. And while the majority of women retire after completing their full tenures, they superannuate, they are more likely than men to seek voluntary retirement from service, slipping along the way. Women are more likely than men to be overseeing cultural affairs, an example, education, food, civil supplies and consumer affairs, health, welfare, and women in child development, and much less likely to be in charge of, say, urban development, law and order, finance, general administration, and energy. In fact, acknowledging the extremely disproportionate statistic and that it does not augur well for the larger developmental agenda of the nation, the Government of India stated in its notification for Civil Services 2016 that the government strives to have a workforce which reflects gender balance and women candidates are encouraged to apply. However, there is always silver lining. And I'm very happy to state that despite these dismal numbers, we have great many examples of gutsy, spunky, sterling women civil servants and pioneers who have broken the gender bias and barriers and worked hard to establish their credibility and name in their lifelong mission of nation building. Well, the tales of systematic and attitudinal biases and discrimination that some of the earliest women civil servants had to endure are quite mind-boggling, and to many of us today, not even relatable. But they also speak of the trajectory that the women in civil services have taken, the long distance that we have come. Now sample this. C.B. Muthamma was the first woman entrant to the Indian Civil Services and joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1949. In fact, she topped the exam. When she entered the service, she was made to sign an undertaking that she would resign if she got married. Muthamma became a crusader for gender equality in Indian civil service. For External Affairs Ministry, had not promoted C.B. Muthamma to the post of Foreign Secretary. And for this, she had taken the Ministry of External Affairs to the court when she was denied the promotion to grade 1 of the service on the grounds of merit. She petitioned the government, claiming that she had been overlooked for promotion and that rules governing the employment were discriminatory. The Supreme Court in 1979 ruled in a landmark judgment by a 3-member bench headed by Justice Iyer, by an equally climatic order, which began by wondering whether Articles 14 and 16 belong to myth or reality. The last line was equally unforgettable. We dismissed the petition, but not the problem. Similar was the case of India's first Indian administrative officer, Anna George Malhotra. Although she had made the cut to the prestigious service, she was being offered Indian Foreign Service or Central Services, which were considered more suitable for women. She convincingly argued her case, stood her ground, and got the service commensurate with her rank and preference. Incredibly, her appointment letter too had these lines: in event of marriage, your service will be terminated. Now, of course, women in civil services have come a full circle, with many gender-friendly and positive interventions, tremendously enhancing the ease of service. Now, Government of India has launched a host of programs and policies to promote the cause of women in general and women in workplace in particular. Now, notable among them are Equal Remuneration Act of 1976, which says that there should be no discrimination in employment, equal pay for equal work, maternity leave of 180 days, childcare leave for up to 730 days, posting of husband and wife together, the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Protection, and Redressal Act of 2013, which tries to give you a sense of security at workplace and is predicated on the dictum that this will improve women's participation in work, resulting in their economic empowerment and inclusive growth. Creche and daycare centers, working women's hostels, women empowerment schemes like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. The Companies Act of 2013, it mandatorily requires at least one woman on board in a specified class of companies. In fact, acknowledging the extremely disproportionate statistic like I said earlier, the Government of India has also waived off the application fees for all the women applying for civil services. There is a renewed sense of leveraging the Nari Shakti through the themes of freedom struggle, ideas, action, achievements, and resolve at 75 as we celebrate the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav is an initiative of Government of India to celebrate and commemorate 70 years of independence and the glorious history of its people, culture, and achievements. Our Ministry of Culture, where I am very privileged to serve at the moment, is the nodal ministry for celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So these were some of the policies of the government. And it was said, basically, I spoke about these just to let you know, and here I'm addressing the students of your college, and especially the women, that the world has changed, and yet. Now, let me come closer home and talk about my story and my lessons, and what has it personally meant to me, you know, being a woman and an officer and a leader in my organization. Now, I'm eldest of my parents' 4 daughters, a Little Women family. My father is a retired civil servant and my mother a homemaker. My sisters and I have been extremely fortunate to get the best education and opportunities that they could afford. I went to an all-girls college. Shalini and Shivani know that. For my bachelor's degree and JNU for my master's. And I cleared my civils in the first attempt, fresh off the boat. And I landed in Indian Railway Personnel Service, soon to realize that I was the only girl in the batch. Now, if you look at the demographic of the entrance to civil services, given the patriarchal paradigm of the Indian social milieu, you'd see that on an average, girls generally come from slightly better off families. Otherwise, they would not have the exposure or the wherewithal to compete. And boys come from every rung, of the society, elite to lower middle classes, rural and urban. So making the cut in civil services exam is a sure shot way of earning success and status. And women usually from their world are always meek and demure, dutiful and sacrificing, vulnerable and laborious. So my being the only girl in the batch may have been merely incidental, but it sort of immediately defined my perimeter. So from an all-girls group, I landed in a boys-only club. Being smart, articulate, and argumentative, I did not fit the stereotype and I would disturb the apple cart. I was naturally intimidating to them. Now, I'm not abrasive or combative by nature, maybe a little competitive, but I knew I was not going to carry home Miss Congeniality crown, or I was never probably going to be Miss Popularity, but I was not to be outboyed by them either. And here I am, the one who survived and living and flourishing to tell you the tale. Well, a large part of our reality lies in the way we imagine ourselves, who we are, and what we may be. And I've never imagined myself as anything but an equal to my batchmates and colleagues in every respect. So at no point did I seek any special privileges for being a woman. I have never shied away from carrying out safety inspections or night inspections to remote wayside stations to see that the staff involved in train operations were alert and performing their duties at odd hours and wee hours. Never said no to nighttime footplate inspections, to travel in the train engine along with the loco-pilot, or to be at the accident site. And mind you, it's a dreadful, horrific place at any time of the day or night. And frequently I'd get to hear, quite appreciatively though, that for a lady officer, she is good. When I'd be modest about my awards for meritorious service, I'd get to hear she wears her achievements well. Well, I never thought that I was doing anything less than, more than, or any different from my male colleagues. But I guess they just do not expect women to be even doing the same things. Well, maybe I earned their respect. Begrudgingly, quite possibly. Industrial relations is an important aspect of my work. Now, railway unions are typically male-dominated bastions. Trade union leaders are seasoned people, but highly, highly uncomfortable with women in positions of authority at the negotiating table. For this means that they would have to calibrate their behavior and approach. There are natural constraints in dealing with women officers. You cannot be abusive or too aggressive in your speech, no fisticuffs, no unparliamentary behavior. So they do the next best thing, become patronizing, address you as a daughter, a sister, or a mother, push the buttons to corner you, try to provoke and unnerve. Well, just do something to unravel your composure. For a cool, collected, and a very prepared female officer is going to adversely affect their game. Yes, they have tried me, especially in my younger and more impetuous days and before I learned to play their game and refused to be played by them. But I realized that at the end of the day, the real deal clincher was one's sincerity of effort, consistent performance, and fair and just attitude towards the staff and their issues. Reputation of a no-nonsense officer has always helped. Now, as a woman officer, have I felt disadvantaged in any way? Yes, sometimes. I lose out on social capital and networking opportunities. No happy hours and boys only cricket tournaments or outings for me. As Mubin had told you earlier, that I have attended several seminars and training programs, and very frequently I have been the lone lady officer in many of them. So there is a bias, and that is deeply ingrained in the Indian psyche. And here is how I see we can break the bias. And here I'm overwhelmingly addressing the women participants of this forum. As I see it, there are 4 ways to break the bias and shatter the ceiling. The first is awareness. Awareness of our own biases, conscious and subconscious. Awareness of the issue, of course, is the first step in dealing with any problem. Second is attitude. Acceptance of counter-stereotypical roles. Breaking gender stereotypes means that we need to allow all members of society the freedom to choose the roles they are most suited for and not be defined by their gender. Analysis of the gender bias and skewed representation in one's organization. And systemic change. How we need to create systems designed to break this bias. Governmental policies these days is one of the most powerful systemic ways of creating change. My message to all my male colleagues today: men and women are equal, but they are not the same. So let us respect and celebrate this. As a woman, as a leader, as a civil servant, here is my message to women in service, and not just civil services, but any service. By the virtue of being so few and far between, women officers and leaders are also ambassadors of their gender. We are being viewed, assessed, appraised continuously. And we are also role models to legions of young and inspiring women all over our neighborhood, in our families, in our friend circle, in the larger society. There are no shortcuts to success and no substitute for competence, confidence, dignity, and compass. Well, I read somewhere, and I find it to be true, that success and likability relate in direct proportion in case of men and inverse proportion in case of women. I feel it is then incumbent on women who are on the same side of the fight against gender discrimination and stereotyping to support each other and make a conscious effort to mentor and lift each other up. Making excuses in the name of gender is inexcusable. The gender inclusive policies are enablers, but not to be taken for granted or misused. This is the worst disservice that women can do to service and to their women colleagues. I should also make a point about work-life balance. To me, this means allocating energy and effort to professional and personal priorities in a way that one is fair to both. Now, this is a very difficult proposition, but as women executives and leaders, we must perform this balancing act. I have no straight answers for what is the right thing to do, but I do think that preferring one completely over another is being unfair to your education, your potential, and your aspiration. Time is right and time is now for immediate action to break the bias and end the exclusion and marginalization of women and girls, to fully harness the power of women's leadership in order to realize a more equal, more inclusive, and a more sustainable future as the countries and communities start to slowly recover from the devastating and life-altering COVID-19 pandemic. I also hope that the war between nations and in the minds of men comes to an end soon. Well, All around the world, the month of March is the month to focus on women and their achievements, to celebrate the acts of courage and determination by ordinary women who have played extraordinary role in the history of their countries and communities in the past and the present, and shall do so in future. Today, on International Women's Day, we probably put up interesting Facebook status, WhatsApp messages, tweets, and take out our part-time activist t-shirts. Others too will get excited about women's rights, if only for a day. But those of us who have invested in a professional wardrobe have to seriously think. Are we doing enough to educate and motivate the people to challenge the gender fingerprinting and societal norms that lead to discrimination against women? Are we doing enough to make our women physically fit, mentally alert, spiritually strong, safe, and confident? Most importantly, are we doing enough to be the change that we want to see? Well, may the thoughts linger and the conversations continue, and may all of us be inspired to keep wearing our Women's Day colors long after the festivities would have wound up, for we embody and express naturally the qualities of nurturing and empathy, grace and compassion, and an incredible inner strength. Holi, the Festival of Colors, is just around the corner. And ladies, as we hold up our half of the sky today and every day, let us fill it with the brightest colors of hope and joy for all the women all over the world. I thank you.
Thank you, Lily. That was so wonderful. ऐसा लग रहा था बस हम आपको सुनते जाएं. And before I take some questions, there are some questions coming on the way. I would like to just elaborate and just pinpoint certain very important things that you mentioned. And you yourself very well explained your personal experiences. I think that is very important for our students here, who you never know, they will get inspired from you, and who are aspiring to be future bureaucrats and future civil servants. I'm sure you're going to be a great inspiration to them, and the words of wisdom that you shared with them, your personal experiences, I think that's going to really help them a lot. Having said that, लिली, तुम्हारी बातें सुनकर ना मुझे एक I think it's इकबाल का ही शेर है ये, वो याद आ गया है. And because I know your love for Urdu and Farsi, so मैं कहाँ रुकता हूँ अर्शो फर्श की आवाज से. तुम्हें देख के मुझे ये शेर हमेशा याद आता है. मैं कहाँ रुकता हूँ अर्शो फर्श की आवाज से, मुझको जाना है बहुत ऊंचा हदे परवाज से. और हाँ, एंड हमारी ये दुआएं हैं कि तुम इससे भी आगे जाओ और महिलाओं का तो नाम रोशन कर ही रही हो, उसके साथ साथ हमारे देश का भी नाम रोशन कर रही हो. एंड यू रिफ्लेक्ट rightly said by you that you reflect the policy changes that is happening, and you yourself become the change, be the change yourself. And I think your personality and your work very aptly represents the theme of break the bias, because you're here because you've broken the bias and you're continuing to do that henceforth. So thank you so much, Lily. Shibani, do we have any questions from our colleagues and students?
I don't know. I don't see anything in the chat box. If anybody has a question.
Yeah, because we have a lot of senior colleagues who have joined with us, Lily. We have a lot of senior colleagues here. I mean, if anybody wants to ask a question, maybe we can unmute.
Okay, here's one question.
Yeah, there is one question.
I think Priyanka has posted something. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a question, Lily, from Priyanka. She's a colleague from the Department of English. I'll just read out. Thank you, Ms. Pandya. It was great listening to your story of success, which is undoubtedly inspiring for all our young students. the journey of change has started, and with such ventures, I think it will take place. So she's kind of, I mean, it's not a question, but it's a firm belief that she gets from the lecture that you gave, from the points that you put forth. So Priyanka is trying to put forth a point that yes, definitely the journey of change has started. And with such ventures and with people like you, I think it will take place. That is what Priyanka is trying to make a point. Uh,
People like all of us over here. And Mubin, I'm generally anemic, but आपकी बात सुनने के बाद मुझे लगता है कि आज काफी ऑक्सीजन गया है अंदर और काफी खून बढ़ा है मेरा. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, and I know you are so busy, or you just took out time for this.
No, never busy for you. Never busy to see Shalini. Never busy to meet Shivani. Looking forward to listening to Barnali and Vidhu. And I know that you're recording this session over here. So even if I'm not able to catch up on everybody's lectures right now, speeches right now, I will make sure that I bring myself up to speed just a little later.
तो तुम्हारे ही लफ्जों में मैं तुम्हारा शुक्रिया अदा करती हूँ, Lily, and I really appreciate, like you said, that here I am who survived living to tell you the tale. So thank you so much, and our best wishes for you always. May you get the best, and may you serve our country. And we are so proud of you, and really honored. And on behalf of our honorable principal, Professor Gyantosh Kumar Jha, on behalf of our WDC convener, Shibani Pukan, and all the other WDC members and our dear students who has been working tirelessly for this summit, I really thank you all. And for all my co-guests here also, I'm sure the smiling faces that I have been watching throughout the lecture, we're really honored to have all of them. And Miss Lily Pandya, thank you so much on behalf of ARSD College. I thank you so much.
Deeply honored that you called me. And thank you so much, everybody. Shalini, I will catch up with you in a bit. I have come across a whole lot of people, your proteges like Irfan and others who work with me in IGNCA and who keep reminding me every day. Barnali and Vidhu, catch up with you a little later. And thank you, Shibani. Thank you, Mubin. Thank you, Professor Jha.
Thank you.
Everybody
Thank you
else
for
over here. Happy Women's Day today and always.
Thank you, Lily. We'll hope to see you offline in college soon,
yes, very
sometime.
soon, inshallah.
And Lily, I want to just tell you one thing, that the most important guiding force behind all this is our principal. And see, he's right there watching us, and he's so busy, but he's always part of all the programs, online, offline, and he's been working throughout the pandemic. So he's always been such an inspiration. We really need more men like him also. Thank you, sir.
A true feminist. Congratulations to you, sir. And congratulations that you have, this kind of admiration from your female colleagues. That's a rare feat. And happy Women's Day to you and all the wonderful women in your life. So thank you very much. And please allow me to take leave of you now.
Thank you, Lily. We are really honored.
Thanks,
you so
Lily.
Much.
Thanks.
Over to you, Shibani.
Now, I would request Dr. Nidhi Dureja ma'am to introduce our next speaker, Barnali Das.
Yeah, thank you, Shidba. It's my honor to, am I audible? Yeah.
Yes, you are. Yes, ma'am.
It's my honor to introduce Ms. Barnali Das. Barnali is a seasoned public relations and strategic communications leader with 22 plus years of diverse industry and market experience. A seasoned business storyteller, she is also adept at reputation management, marketing communications, crisis mitigation, employer branding, social media, public policy, advocacy, event management, and video storytelling. In the course of her varied career, she has worked with Indian central government corporates, global and national NGOs, and national TV channels. She is also a member of the Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, WICCI, Public Relations and Digital Marketing Council. Working with Uber India South Asia since February 2019, Bernali has in-depth knowledge of the policy and regulatory environment that impacts business and the consumer technology companies in India and South Asia. She is well versed with the market dynamics during the pandemic, the gig and digital economy challenges and opportunities, etc. Currently, as the head of corporate communications, she has been closely partnering with the regional business leaders and other leaders in the cross-functional teams to drive Uber's business narratives in India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. Her deft and skillful push in driving a bouquet of narratives, such as harnessing the power of the platform, tech innovations, products, Uber sustainability mandate, commitment to South Asian countries, global social impact mandate, thought leadership, HR best practices, etc., have led to consolidation of Uber's brand reputation in these markets. She has also been leading Uber social impact initiative in the regions since the outbreak of the global pandemic, propelled by her passion, program management skills, deep insights of the development sector, and a strong network. She has been in the forefront driving the Move What Matters initiatives. Uber's support to some of the most vulnerable COVID affected communities in India have created a material difference in establishing it as a caring and responsible corporate citizen. A people's person, deeply collaborative, well respected, solution oriented, and an empathetic communications leader, she has a deep understanding and ties with the media network in India and South Asia. She owns relationship with the key journalists in its top markets. As a fluent Bangla speaker, she also accounts well with the media in Bangladesh. Bernali graduated from Miranda House with English honors and completed her master's and MPhil in linguistics from Delhi University. She has always been driven about moving the needle on women and child rights, and a significant part of her life and career has been dedicated to this. She lives in Delhi with her family. She loves poetry, a keen nature photographer, and enjoys solo traveling and hiking in her spare times. She also a drama addict and a penchant for handicrafts, handlooms, and indigenous people and culture. So with this introduction part, I welcome you, Ms. Bernali, and I'm quite hopeful that all of us, all the students, all the faculty members will be enriched by your wisdom words. I again welcome you. Over to you, Ms.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nidhi ji. They were very, I'm feeling very embarrassed, really elaborate introduction. And I don't think that was needed, but really, thank you so much. I want to thank Shivani, the Women Development Cell at ARSG College, Professor Gyantosh Kumar Jha, and all the faculty members and students present today. Thank you so much for having me. This was something which was, when Shivani had invited me, I was just, so excited to be part of this, because in my day-to-day professional life, I don't really, get a chance to interact with students or youth. So this was a wonderful opportunity that came my way, and I just jumped in. So I think it's a tall order after following after Lily Pandya. Her words were so wonderful, so inspiring, and like Mubin said, we just wanted to just go on listening to her. Very empowering as well as a woman, because I know while she made it sound so effortless, this couldn't have been easy, fighting all the battles that she did on a daily basis in her professional capacity, personal capacity. None of it is easy, as every woman member present here can, vouch for. So coming back, to what I wanted to talk about actually. So International Women's Day, personally to me, as a woman, as a feminist, as a liberal, it's a very significant day for me, because we are still, while there are incremental changes, there has been progress made, we are still really far removed from a world where we can be truly emancipated from biases, stereotypes, and discriminations. We just feel, in our bubbles, in our day-to-day bubbles, sometimes that we are very empowered, but the moment we prick that bubble and we look around and we carefully notice what's going around, we realize we are very, very privileged. Probably everyone in this platform, all of us here logging in to listening to each other, we are very privileged. And I think we should count our blessings to have traveled this far in our own, spaces, in our life, in our professional careers. We are very privileged. So what I realize is that the struggles I faced 20 years back are still valid. You still hear about the same struggles from younger women, younger professionals, because I come from a corporate world and I meet a lot of young professionals who have just entered the corporate world. They talk about the same. And it's amazing that 20 years down the line, you would have imagined that, something would have changed, the needle would have moved, but looks like, it's a very small change. So that's the reason I think the conversations, the strategies, and the tactics to break biases need to start early so that we equip and enable younger people for a gender equal world. After all, the students here who have logged in, they are our future leaders, they are nation builders. And we have a responsibility as the generation, older than them, a responsibility to equip them. And like Lily Pandya had said, the first thing that we can do is awareness of the subject, awareness of the information, awareness of the issues and the biases and the stereotypes that exist in our world. So let me just step back a little bit. When I was contemplating, to this event at ARSG College, if I have to talk about what I bring to the table, I was wondering, what is it that I want to talk about? So I thought of two things. Number one, I wanted to share some insights from my days in the Ministry of Women and Child Development. I spent about 4 years there. I was a senior media advisor from 2012 to 2015 for about close to 4 years. And many landmark laws were passed during my tenure, and a flagship scheme was launched, which became a household name instantly. Laws, if I have to talk about, the sexual harassment at workplace laws was passed, prevention of, the POCSO law, preventing offenses, sexual offenses against children, that law was passed. And Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, a flagship scheme of Government of India, was also rolled out. I was a key member of its project management team, and I wanted to talk about it a bit because it reflects the stark reality of India, the India that we are living in. And the number two thing that I wanted to talk about was the kind of biases I have seen in the corporate world that hold women back from career advancement. While Lily Pandya talked about Indian civil services and the gross misrepresentation, underrepresentation of women in civil services, that actually is a reality in the corporate world too. That's the other kind of reality that exists for women, and I thought I would, talk about it a little bit. Let's talk about Beti Bachao first. It's pertinent to actually look into why in India we had to introduce a scheme such as Beti Bachao in 21st century. What made our government, to roll out a scheme to save girls and educate girls? The chilling fact is that we woke up to the fact of a declining child sex ratio. Let me explain what that is. Child sex ratio is defined as the number of girls born per 1,000 boys between 0 to 6 years of age. And in India, we realize that this ratio has been declining since 1961. And this, we are talking about the decadal census data. So this data emerged from every 10 years when you do a census of India's population. From those data points, this fact emerged. The decline from 945 girls in 1991 to 927 per 1,000 boys in 2001, and it further declined. When we did our census in 2011, we realized there are only 918 girls per 1,000 boys. So now that set the alarm bells ringing. Where did our girls go? I hear that 2021 data is not, the census is actually postponed now because of COVID. So we don't have the latest data. We know the last census was run in 2011, and we don't know what the numbers will be now currently. But even if we have just the 2011 data, we need to think why it matters. It matters because the decline in the child sex ratio is a major indicator of women's disempowerment. It reflects two kinds of biases in our society. Pre-birth discriminations manifested through gender bias sex selection. We selectively eliminate girls and we kill them before birth. And post-birth discrimination against girls to reach their full potential in life. Our deep-seated social construct leads to discriminations against women and girls throughout their life cycle. Starts at birth, ends with death. I think there's just no end. We are a son-obsessed nation and we don't want daughters. I know it sounds really, really depressing, but that's the reality. That's why people use easily available and affordable medical and diagnostic tools to eliminate them even before birth. When this started happening at a rampant scale across India, the child sex ratio declined. And Punjab and Haryana were torchbearers in this regard. Even if daughters are born, they are treated as second-class citizens, or Paraya Dhan, as they call it. So much so that some communities in Haryana don't even count them as children when census officials visit. So, for example, if a household has 4 children, 2 daughters and 2 sons, they will inform the officials that only 2 children they have. They have only 2 sons. They won't even count their daughters as children. They will not get recorded in the data. So this is very, very difficult and hard to believe, but that's a fact. And like, this is what we learned, when I was working in the ministry. We would, interact with state government officials, the women and child department official. This is what we heard. Heartbreaking. So after their birth, of course, okay, if they're born, then a whole different range of discriminations begins, impacting girls adversely. So let me call these out. What are these discriminations I'm talking about? You will know what I mean. Starting with nutrition, access to healthcare, access to vaccinations, access to school education, preventing women from accessing higher education on the grounds of marriage. Sometimes child marriage. In states like Bihar, Rajasthan, there is still child marriage. Then depriving them of their property rights. In India, we are fortunate that men and women have equal property rights to their ancestral father's property. But how many girls actually go out and ask their parents that give me my property rights? It's understood that once girls are married, they go away, sons will have access to parents' property. Then we cover up the verbal and emotional abuse of girls at home. And even if daughters manage to obtain higher education, then comes the pressure to give up on their career ambitions and dreams, get married, give up working when they get pregnant, not having adequate childcare support to pursue a career. So the point I'm trying to make is that there is just no end to the form and shape of these discrimination. They just go on and on. It's a long list. As a member of the Beti Bachao project team and a trainer, as a master trainer for training state government officials, I used to travel quite extensively. For 2 years, I used to travel. And what I learned and what I heard and what I saw from visiting all the states, different states, and don't get me wrong, this is across India. It's not that in some states it's there and in some states it's not there. This is across India, just the shape and form is different. So I learned how prevalent and deep-rooted biases against women are in our country. And sadly, everyone thinks that they are within their rights to tell women what to do, what to wear, where to go, how to behave, etc. आते जाते कोई भी कुछ भी advice दे के जा सकते हैं. it's just given. We have internalized, women in India have internalized कि बस किसी के पास कुछ भी right है, अब कुछ भी बोल के चले जाए. And blame and shame them if, God forbid, if women break any of these societal norms, then there are many names that we give our daughters and to women. To sum up, actually, since coordinated and convergent efforts are needed to ensure survival, protection, and empowerment of the girl child, Government of India rolled out the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao initiative to address these discriminations that I had just mentioned. So this is one part. Moving on, the world where such discriminations happen is not far removed from us. Some of you may think that, oh, ye to hamare yahan nahi hota hai. So you may think that this is not relevant to me, this is not related to me. But it's possible that you think it's from another world, kisi aur ke sath hota hoga. But because we are all from a privileged background and we think that such things don't happen. But the reality is, a lot of these are happening continuously all around us, but we have internalized these biases and discriminations. But if we look around more carefully, we will notice they are there all around. So there's another. Now let me quickly share a glimpse of another binary of biases and discriminations in our professional lives and careers. I am talking about professional, educated, qualified, and privileged women who know their minds and still face biases in their careers. They face them at entry level. If there are 5 men and 5 women competing for the same job, there would be discrimination, there would be preferences for hiring a male. Then there are challenges at mid-career. Then there are challenges at leadership roles. We talk about glass ceilings. We talk about shattering ceilings. They're there, we know it. And these challenges are very, very real. And this is regardless of the function or industry you belong to, whether it's sports, whether it's corporate world, whether it's government service, whatever function or industry you belong to, these biases are prevalent. And I know that many of you are probably, you aspire to be part of that world, the corporate world for a lucrative and fulfilling career in a couple of years. So the point I'm trying to make is that there are, we need to be actually really, really aware, informed, and equipped to fight these biases. We will continue to encounter those challenges in our corporate world, especially when it comes to advancing our careers in workplaces. Very often they will be denied promotions, or women have to work doubly hard to prove themselves. If there are for the same, promotion, if there are men and women working, women have to work double hard to, prove themselves to be worthy of a promotion. And this is not me talking about, this is not anecdotal, conversation. I'm saying this is proven, this is, researched data. So what I'm saying is that it's not enough to know bias exists. Action is needed to level the playing field. Otherwise, we will still be stuck. So I wanted to actually just throw some light on some statistics. These are from Fortune India, Monster Salary Index, World Economic Forum's Gender Gap Index, and LinkedIn Opportunity Index of 2021. So as per this data of statistics, only 29% of Fortune India 500 companies have women executive leaders. Women executives earn rupees 81 for every rupees 100 earned by their male peers. So there's a gender gap right there. There is no pay parity. 85% of working women in India claim to miss out on a raise, promotion, or a job offer due to their gender. 85% of women professionals feel that they have been perceived and judged as bossy. If you're competent, if you're competitive, if you are doing well, you will be perceived and judged as bossy, whereas none of it happens if you are a man. Finally, it will take us more than 100 years in India to bridge the current gender gap that exists in our economy. I think it should sink in. 100 years we are talking about to bridge the gap. Anyway, I think that's spreading a lot of doom and gloom, but it's not all doom and gloom. Every generation has made incremental progress in breaking gender norms, biases, and stereotypes. And that is why in today's business world too, diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, they're the buzzwords, and for a valid reason, rightfully so. When we talk about DEI as a priority, every facet of the organization benefits, including the bottom lines, because in the corporate world, it's about profit, it's about P&L, it's about top line, and it's about bottom line. But we are still talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion because there is a direct impact. If you have a diverse and equitable workforce, your business will grow and expand. So what are some of those tactics that we can deploy to sidestep biases? We have to, after all, this is a battle and we fight it every day. So we have to know how can we sidestep them? And individually, we are all responsible for our own thoughts and actions. So, we can take steps to break these biases in our communities, in our homes, in our extended friends and family network, and in our workplaces. And for students, you can break the biases in your schools, colleges, universities. Because they are all they're prevalent and they are there all around us, we have to make conscious efforts to break these biases. How do we break the bias? Simple things. Patriarchy is deep-seated. We all know that. We all have biases as human beings, men, women. None of us can say that, oh, I don't have any bias. No, that's not true. We have it's ingrained in us. But accepting that bias exists, owning it up, and willingness to break them is the first step. By men, women, everyone, because even women are, foot soldiers of patriarchy. It's not that just because we are women, we have not internalized patriarchy. We have to continuously tell ourselves, this battle cannot be fought alone, and we need to be relentless. It's not a fight that women only have to fight. That's why we need men and boys as our allies. We need entire society, community to fight these battles. As far as men are concerned, men can be more mindful, of course, of their biases against women to ensure they don't act in discriminatory ways. And especially in workplaces or in students, in public spaces, when we are dealing with men, women of all kinds. Men need to mind their language and tone of voice. Men can be more sensitive to how they address women and ensure they don't speak to them in an improper or derogatory ways or patronizing ways. A lot of the times it's not realized, but they just sound patronizing. Men can stop mansplaining and man interrupting. And this is again, very, very in the corporate world, we see it all the time in a group meeting when there are men and women present. The moment women start talking, they will be interrupted, or, whatever they're saying, they will be further mansplained by their fellow male colleagues when there is absolutely no need. Probably they're not even doing it deliberate. Sometimes biases are not deliberate. They are just unconscious biases, but we have to realize them. And stand up, of course, against those showing gender bias and call it out. Men, women, whoever is showing gender bias, let's just call it out. And in fact, never stop calling it out. I think one of the first steps, in my personal life, from my personal journey, I have learned is that this is a relentless fight at every step of the way. I, like Shivani, I came to Delhi in 1990 as a young girl, 18-year-old girl. I didn't know much. And, we started experiencing the biases and, sexual harassment on streets and all kinds of things very early in life. And we just, adapted and, learned along the way to fight these. And we supported each other, we called it out. And, I remember instances when I have gone to the police and, complained about things that was happening. So it's all the time you have to fight your battle. And I think our inner strength and our fortitude and our never say die attitude will go a long way in serving us. And I think with that note, I want to, thank ARSG College, thank Shivani, and thank all of you once again for this wonderful opportunity. I'm honored to be here and honored to be surrounded by so many accomplished women. And thank you so much, and happy Women's Day to all of you once again. Thank you.
First of all, Bernali, I would appreciate the background which you put up at your back. So I really like the background of your screen. Yes.
Thank you. That's the theme of IWD this
Yes.
year, break the bias. So we just created Zoom background because there are a lot of very fiery women in my company. So we are all sort of using it. It's not, I know many of us may call it tokenism, but like I said, the fights are relentless. And, throughout the year, you have to keep speaking up to break the bias. It's not a one-day fight or one 8th March event that we are doing. This is a relentless battle.
Yeah, that's great, and really I like the way this topic. This fight is endless, and it will keep on going on and on and on. So we have to fight it each and every day, right? Yes, Dr. Shivani.
Thank you, Bonali. Thank you very much. Bonali is a very, very dear and a very old friend of mine. So I'm especially sort of thankful that and I know she has an extremely busy schedule today. I'm really thankful that she was able to join us and do this, and she's been in the field, so it always helps to sort of and it's so it's to hear from people who are part of these campaigns and programs and I know Bonali has been doing amazing work at Uber. I think she for example, if you guys remember, I think this was also out there in the papers about street lighting. I think Uber was involved and Bonali was involved with that. So these are basic changes on the ground that corporate houses and each one of us, I think, sort of can make to make to make this world a safer place for women, to make the whole experience of just being, of living, a more equitable experience. So thank you, Bonali. If there are any questions, if anybody has any questions, please pose them and Nidhi can take them up. Are there any questions?
Actually, in the previous speaker's term, Ms. Lily Pandya's term, Professor Sunita Bhagat raised her hand. If she is there and if she is having some question, Professor Sunita Bhagat.
I think she has left.
And
yeah, I think she has.
I think she has left.
Shivani and all the other speakers, if there are no questions, I would like to take leave, and thank you so much again for inviting me, having me, and giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Bonali. Thanks for doing this. And yes, maybe now we could move to the third speaker, Preeti.
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Bonali.
Thank you, Bernali. Once again, thank you very much from the ARSG fraternity.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
I would
Shivani.
request Dr. Preeti Jain to introduce our next speaker, Wing CDR Vidhu Singh.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. On this special occasion of International Women's Day, let me begin by saying that there have been many heroines in our nation's history who have broken down the barriers with grit, determination, and persevered in the face of challenge. Today, it gives me immense pleasure to have among us an assertive, adroit, and solution-oriented veteran Wing Commander Vidhu Singh, Indian Air Force, with experience in aircraft maintenance and technical leadership roles. An engineer by training, but professionally made explorations in the Sea of Men as women officer in fighter aircraft maintenance. She has served in several positions, including Air Officer Commanding in Chief Commendation. As Senior Engineering Officer, she has spearheaded production of aircraft. She happens to be the first women military aircraft accident investigator of Mirage 2000 fleet. Her contributions in the field of avionics and electronic warfare and maintenance and safety of military aircraft are much applauded. She has been entrusted with most crucial and sensitive management of mission critical, time critical, and resource critical operations during the Balakot airstrike in February 2019. She is a tireless advocate for women in science and engineering and stands for their acceptance, respect, and equality. May I please request Wing Commander Vidhu Singh to take over the stage.
Thank you everyone. And I'm really sorry, I have a bad throat. I hope I'm audible and clear.
Yes, you are, Vidhu.
yes,
You're absolutely fine.
And before I start, I would really like to say good morning and a happy Women's Day to Professor Gyantosh Kumar Jha, Principal ARSD, and of course the very two important speakers, Lily ma'am and Bernali ma'am, and Shanali ma'am, who is still there with me, and to all the faculty of the college and the most important ones are the students, be it male, female, whatever. I always say, student life is the best life, you have. And the maximum learning that you have in your life is in this life. So don't waste it and just use it the more you can. It is this time will never come back. So that is from where I start. And I must say that, I have not prepared my speech like, the way it has been delivered. The benchmark is very high. Lily ma'am and Bernali ma'am has, set the stage and I really have to climb, over there. And I have a very, simple, sober background. I don't know how people, think that it is something very great. I always say that, this is a journey that I chose for myself. And I always say that I just don't regret my decisions. I have recently become a veteran, and I'm trying to find my ground in the corporate world again and building up my second career. And generally people keep asking me these questions, what do you want to do, what is it, and what are your regrets, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. But I always say that I don't have any regrets. I'm just I just keep flowing. To me, life is like you just take a plunge, and you don't leave an option of drowning. You just swim through it. So that is what I want to convey to all the women, especially on this day, because there will be people who will keep telling you a lot of things. The way Bernali ma'am also said, all kind of suggestions will keep pouring in from all sides. So you don't have to actually listen to all of them. Have fun, enjoy, grab whatever good you can, but do what you want. That's the thumb rule in life. Do what you want, what you think is right. And as I always say to my own father also, that if you can convince me in not doing something because it's wrong, then probably you can stop me. Otherwise you can't, so don't even try. You can stop me only if you can explain me that I'm wrong. And if I'm not wrong, just let me do it. I'll just share a little bit of my personal life. I'm from a very sober background. My father is a retired government servant from DDA, Delhi Development Authority, and my mother is a retired vice principal, DAV Public School, and simple middle class background with we are two sisters. We don't have a son, and my life has been very smooth sailing in the sense that I used to go to school, but I have been a very obedient child, at my home. but I always had a different shade at my schooling. You know, I was this notorious kid, you know, always a last bencher, and my group was always like that, you know, all notorious boys and girls, and we all used to sit at the last bench and have all the fun in life. But somehow we were all good in studies, you know. So we were that class of students, you know, जिसको मैम भी माफ कर देती है, कोई नहीं यार पढ़ लिया ना इसने, चलो, that is good enough. You know, पढ़ लिया है इन लोगों ने, homework कर लिया है, so कोई बात नहीं, एक आध गलती माफ कर देते हैं. We were that category of students. But you know, excelling in life, being competitive has always been my, you know, my KRA. I believe in, you know, my competition is with myself. Don't take it that, you know, I compete with others. No, my competition is with only me. You know, when I speak, I should speak better than what I spoke last time. When I dance, I should dance better than how I danced last time. You know, when I work, I should perform better than what I performed last time. So you know, it's something I always say to, especially to women, that never compete with anyone else. Compete with yourself, because your situations are different. You are different. Everybody is unique and have different capabilities, have different environment. So what you do, how you take decisions, how you know, react in a situation is absolutely very personal to you. Just don't try to copy anyone. Yeah, you should take inspirations, I never deny that, but be your own motivation. You know, you can't change anything outside. What you can change is always within you. You know, so find your peace inside yourself. Find your, you know, your strength inside you. If you'll keep looking around, you'll keep trying to find your, you know, something outside, I think it's a waste of effort. What I feel is like, you know, everything is inside you. So try to find your ground. So then coming back to my story, I grew up, and I got into, like, before I got into my engineering, which was initially civil engineering, I actually went to Delhi University, and you know, because there was a break in between. You know, my engineering college I was to join in June, and my education, you know, was over by January mid. So I was like, you know, I had to spend my time. So I told my dad that I want to go and join Delhi University, and I said I want to go to a college, and a regular college from home every day, and I want to have an experience of that kind of life. My father was really annoyed, and he said, because, you know, I have to pay those fees, and things are fun for you, and, you know. And I said, no, but please do let me have that experience. And then you know, he asked me, where do you want to join? And you know, I was like, you know, that again notorious mind creeped in, and I said I want to join Miranda House. And my father was like, you want to join Miranda? I said, yeah. He said, it's a all women college. Are you sure? Because you've always been in co-ed. I said, no, I'll find my ground. And then I went there, and I'm telling you, I had the, you know, real good you know, time of my life in that college. It was an amazing experience to be among women, and some amazing women, beautiful women, and you know, talented lot like anything. And you know, I used to admire them. I used to think, you know, how can we excel? But I must say, Delhi University is a place full of energy, talent, culture, and, you know, strength. I see women there. In fact, whosoever I'm seeing in the college right now also, Shibani ma'am, and all you people from the faculty, I find a lot of strength and, you know, energy in all of you. And then I followed up again. I went into a typical engineering college. I picked up electrical engineering, civil engineering. And then I shifted to, you know, my father was my biggest, you know, competitor and my source of energy and inspiration. I told him, you know, that I picked up civil engineering, but I was not really very satisfied, because I wanted to be an electrical engineer just like my dad, because I wanted to tell him, you know, that I want to be like you. that I'm become equal like you. So I changed my engineering degree, and I got into electrical engineering and became an engineer. And that's it. That was the last time, I heard my dad, and I challenged him. And I just, after I changed my branch, I just took a train and reached my house and jumped the gate of my house and got inside my house, and just to say and shake hand to my father and tell him, see, I'm an electrical engineer like you. I know it sounds silly, but that was the, that was the spirit inside me that I always wanted to, you know, tell, especially to my dad and to my peer, that I've done it. I have it in me. But that's it. That was the last time I did it to show it to my family or my friends. And after that, it was like, I got into, I completed my engineering, got placed for my college, and I started working. But then I realized that this is not what I wanted to do. And I was crazy behind the fighter machine, fighter aircraft, I always say. I'm still that kid, वो aircraft जब उड़ता है ना, तो उसके पीछे पूंछ में आग लगी होती है. It has a fire tail behind. And I'm telling you, even after, serving for 15 years, like, I'm still crazy for that fire behind the aircraft. And, it still gives me that kick. This is the machine I always wanted to work on. And then I just gave my SSBs. I ran from my company. I did all hunky-dory things. Like, I did everything nuts. I was a crazy, notorious kid. I just did everything. I left my company before even I got selected into Indian Air Force. Then my father said that if you're not joining a company and joining Indian Air Force, you better get lost from my house. And he actually kicked me out of my house. He said, you just go, I'm done with you. And I said, okay, fine. I'm going only on 31st of December, because that is when I have to join my academy. And he was like, you can't put conditions. I'm kicking you out of my house. And I said, it's okay. I will continue only till 31st. And when he told me, it was some 21st of December. So I had to stay 10 days, even without my dad's permission, in his house, But then I continued, but I was like really happy because I was joining Indian Air Force. And I went and joined the organization. And but that is when, actually, I'm telling you, I realized that I'm a woman. Till that time I was, that notorious kid, always among boys, playing with them, growing with them. I actually never realized that I'm a woman. But once I joined my academy, I realized that I'm a woman. And I was actually made to realize, because like all the other previous speakers, I would always say that military is not a very women-centric organization. It is now, being promoted as a upcoming organization for all women roles. But way back in 2007, it was not. And when we joined academy, we were like, academy, we were told to we were cadets initially in the training time, and we were given, our games rig, which we were supposed to wear and, do our all training. And actually, training is not the right word. The right word is ragda. So we are, it's not that, simple that you just go do exercise, you do your classes and you come back. No, it is like, it is officially like that. Please don't say it in the public, but the day starts at 3 o'clock, and every day. And you have to reach a square, then you have to do your, you have to prove your monkey skills, on which I had been gifted since my childhood. So, and you have to be very calm and quiet. You can't be, complaining for things that I have not been sleeping. And then you're giving hardly any time. Like, the time for you to, take bath is only 2 minutes, in which if you can wash your head, if you can, do whatever you feel like, but you just have 2 minutes. And if you're not done with 2 minutes, and the bathroom door, you don't have the latching inside. The door is latched from outside. So the 2 minutes are done and the door would open. So it's up to you that, you want to come out within 2 minutes or you don't want to come out within 2. And if you want to, like, initially you are not even given, those dhobi services to wash your clothes. So you have to, do everything on your own. So your washing is at night 2 o'clock. You have to wash your clothes because you have to be immaculate in your uniform. Your uniform cannot be dirty, and everything is so spick and span. So life is like that. But then slowly and slowly you start realizing, that um, you are being treated a little differently than other officers. I would call male officers. Uh, but I always say that, in military, if you go, all women officers are like, they don't want to be called women officers. We have always been fighting for it, that just call us officers. We are not women, we are no men, we are just officers. When you don't discriminate, when you're giving us our roles, when you don't discriminate and giving us our weapons with which we work, we fire, or the machine, the platforms that you give us to work upon, then why give us special names? We are just officers, and just behave like that. And I must tell you that I have been a very outwardly outspoken person. I am very expressive. I always, and most of the women military veterans, you'll see all of them are like this. I'm no exception. And we are somehow brought up with that. And I must tell you that the organization as such, in a normal working environment, will never feel discrimination. You're just a part of a group. You will have fun the way everybody has. In fact, the male peer will call you in all their fun activities. They will let you have. It is only your thought process which can actually hold you. But yes, I always say there is a dignity with which you carry yourself. Please don't forget that. The more dignified you are, the better you are treated in any society, for that matter. So please remember, have all fun. Like, I have been the most notorious, the most, at times the most indisciplined, and I have been the most, experimental person. But I always say, please uh, remember that word which is called dignity, and keep it intact, because that is something which is special and very close to you. Keep it very high. Don't ever let anyone, step on your dignity. Please don't. And any place you're in a college, or you're in a school, or you're in a, your corporate, or even military, you just don't let anyone. You're known by your own aura. You're known by your own the environment that you have around you, that you have created was for yourself. And I must tell, military is an amazing place. Please do join, whosoever wants to join. And when I joined, we were short service commissioned officers. I never wanted to leave military, but short service commission, which is there in news also, so many of them. So you know you should never think on those lines that you want to leave. Please compete, be the best. And I never tell people, please prove yourself. Never. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Just be comfortable in your domain. I'm telling you, it itself is a proof that you are way apart than the normal things which are moving around you. Accept your own your own flaws. That is the first and the foremost lesson that should be told to all women. Please accept yourself. The way you look, the way you carry, the way you walk, your size, your color, your language, whatever you have. Please love yourself. That is the first thing. And I think every Women's Day should actually celebrate women for the way they are. Please don't. We are not here to prove it to anyone. In fact, I always say that, every Women's Day, I say it to myself, I'm waiting for that Women's Day when we will not be celebrating a Women's Day. I'm waiting for that day when success of a woman would be the most normal thing in the world. When we women will not be given a special status, when we will not be, treated with something special. And I must tell you, I'm not from a very special or a very, very big background. I have fought my own struggles. I was the first woman aircraft maintainer in the Mirage 2000 fleet, and that fleet started in 1985. I joined in 2007. You know, it took so many years for this fleet to get a woman officer. When I joined my fighter squadron for the first time, there was no women toilets. You know, I had to knock at the, there were only urinals, first of all. Very quickly, my squadron said, "Oh my God, we don't have a place for Vidhu to go and use the loo. So we should have, the Western toilet quickly." And within 2 days, the Western toilet was installed. And then, but sadly, that toilet was installed in sharing with the male officers' toilet. So every time I had to go, I had to knock. "Excuse me, I hope there is nobody inside." And then I had to, go and use the washroom. And even the male officers were not used to their washrooms. Like military has grand washrooms, and and those washrooms had good, beautiful pictures of a lot of women in different dresses. But when I reached, they all realized, "Oh, now we have a woman." So they had to change the decor also of the washrooms. And so I was like actually getting into their territory. But I always told them, "Please, I don't want to change myself for you, so you don't change yourself for me. I know how you are, and I want you to know how I am. I'm comfortable with you. You please be comfortable with yourself. And I'm same for all." And I always say, please, let's all be comfortable in whatever role we are. I truly understand that, right now women are not in general in a very comfortable state. But I always say, fight for that comfort. And the fight doesn't start at your professional places. I must tell you, no. The fight starts very much at your own home, at your own, with your own parents. If you can't speak up and tell them, "This is what I want," then I think you'll never be able to speak up outside. Please, to all the young boys who are listening to me, who will be future fathers, who will be future husbands, or whatever relationships you have with women in your life, please let them be. Just let them be themselves. That is the biggest thing you would do to any woman in the world on a Women's Day. Just let her be herself and have, her day. And, if you can do something good, cook her food or anything of that sort, obviously it's a special thing. But other than that, please let her be. I would always say that, I graduated to become the first military aircraft, fighter aircraft crash investigator of Mirage 2000. It's a very odd sight when an aircraft crashes. There are loss of lives. It's a very sentimental place. And it's something like that. You just had a breakfast with that person who is just torn into pieces and nothing is visible. It's a very traumatic sight. And you are asked, that aircraft investigator is asked immediately to inform the next of kin, which is, your friend, or your son's friend's mother, with whom you have been partying last night, or you did some morning walk, or whatever. You know her very closely, and then you have to go and tell that this is what has happened. It's a difficult thing, but I must tell you, most of the time now, every senior officer wants a woman to do that. And the reason is not that we are somehow very, very special or something. No, but because we have that capability to empathize and to sympathize. We bring that special character with us. Please use it as a tool at all your places. Don't be shy in telling people that, yes, we are emotional. Yes, we have the empathy factor more than you. Yes, we are more sensitive than you. There is no problem in saying all this. Please go ahead and share and take it as a pride. Take these feelings, not something negative. You don't have to become a man. Please don't. Never become a man. Be yourself, be comfortable, but I always say that practice to all, not just to women, to everyone. You know, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. This is the thumb rule of any soldier. Please practice whatever, whichever platform you want to approach to. Don't limit yourself. Aim as high as possible in life, especially to the women, because right now we are in that stage when, you know, people want us to see at those places. I'm telling you, we are in a very transitioning society. We are in that phase when people are trying to see us at those places. Please don't lose an opportunity. Please rise up to the occasion. Go there, stand, shout loud that yes, we are there to rule the world. And just don't give up an opportunity. Rise to the occasion, rise to whichever place you feel like. Don't dream small. Dream big enough that, you know, the world would say this, you know, that today morning itself, I just got a message on WhatsApp which said, you know, that be a woman who wakes up from the bed and the devil says, oh my God, she's woken up. You know, so you know, my office always says that, you know, that when I used to be on my place of work, we call it tarmac, where all fighter aircrafts are parked, and when I used to walk, you know, all my men, you know, who work under me, I generally commanded 350 to 400 men at any given point of time. That is my minimum number. It can grow to any numbers. But then, you know, you put those, they used to put those ear defenders. Ear defenders are something like that you don't get that noise inside, you know, the aircraft starting up noise. They would put those ear defenders and just walk quietly, because they knew that if something good would go bad, she will yell like anything. You know, she'll take the life out of you. So, you know, you be that woman, you know, that people envy, and you know, every woman want to be friends with, you know, and people should give an example of that, you know. Be like her. She's so comfortable in her own zone. You just be yourself. And you know, people always say me, why don't you color your hair, you know, why don't you go and have some facial or something like that. I always say that, you know, I love myself the way I am. The day I would feel, you know, I am from military background, and I must admit that till date I have not taken any alcohol or, you know, things. I have not smoked, which is very common in military environment. And there is no taboo for women to do all this in military. We are very open. It doesn't matter. But I'm someone who has not done it, and people always tell that, how is it that you have not done it? You know, your personality is like that. And I'm like, what do you mean by personality? Personality is, you know, you yourself. I have defined my own horizons, you define yours, and that is what I always want to tell you. Please approach me. I'm available on LinkedIn if you have any queries related to defense, or, you know, the background, the kind of work that you want to do. And please don't think that there are only aircraft. Please, there are a lot of domains which are there on military. And there is HR domain, there is administration, logistics, and normal graduates can join. You don't have to be an engineer. We are looking for graduates, and actually notorious graduates, I must admit that. And you know, who make their own way, who can define their own terms. Please go. And if you have any questions, you can post me on LinkedIn also. You may not be asking over here. I'm okay with that, because हमारे फौज में भी ऐसा ही होता है, जब प्रेजेंटेशन होती है तब कोई सवाल नहीं होता, प्रेजेंटेशन के बाद सब सवाल होते हैं, और इतना डिस्कशन होता है कि यू नो सारा एग्रेशन बाहर ही निकलता है वो कॉफी के कप के साथ. So you must be having good cafeterias. Please enjoy, discuss me, and discuss all other speakers. Please do find time. I'm available on LinkedIn, or otherwise, like, my contact is with Shibani ma'am. I'm open to all questions. And thank you. And I'm really blessed to be part of such a rich community and such rich speakers. And thank you. Thanks a lot. Have an amazing Women's Day, and make every day an amazing day. Thank you.
Thank you, Vidu. You yourself very well explained your personal experiences that going to really help our students. You yourself become the change. You said, if I'm not wrong, Matlab, no one can stop you. Your competition is with yourself, not with others. And you said that we should use it as a tool, that we have emotional factor and empathy factor, and we don't feel shy over it. That's the best thing I think our students could learn from you. I would like to quote few lines of Mother Teresa. If I alone can't change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples. So I think you have that ripple. So thank you very much to being with us. I think if there are any questions from students, we can take them up.
If there are any questions, please post them. And Vidhu, that was wonderful. And I think, the whole idea of a girl being inspired by a fighter plane, by the fire behind, I think that itself in some way, that's the very image of breaking the bias. We give little girls dolls and kitchen sets to play with. Please don't. Let us have our own dreams. Let us sort of, play with the toys that we want to. So if there aren't any questions, I think, and because we're running a little behind schedule, we'll move on to our final speaker of the day, Shalini Vats. I'm supposed to introduce Shalini, but Shalini didn't send me a bio note. So I'm just going to go extempore. Shalini Vats is an actor. I'm sure many of you have seen her in, she, I think, debuted with, made her big screen presence with Peeply Live, if I'm not wrong. And then she has done many amazing roles in web series such as The Sacred Games, and in other movies such as Ludo, Gurgaon, etc., where she has, held her own against those who are seen as stalwarts in this field, like Pankaj Tripathi and Nawazuddin Siddiqui, and you'd remember Shalini in those scenes because she's that powerful. And this is Shalini the actor. I have had the good fortune of knowing Shalini when she was a graduate student, and she was as feisty, as fiery, possibly more than any of the women characters that she has played on screen. She was she was very involved with Speak Meke. She was part of the Dramatics Club. She was very, very actively involved with street plays, and she worked with Habib Tanveer for a while before she moved on to films. And Shalini is somebody who has always inspired her youngsters to just do all the work that was required to be done for any college festival. She was part of the students union. So Shalini is an actor, but she's also an activist, and she has been inspiring, and she's one of the warmest people I've come across. I still remember Shalini's hugs. I haven't met her over 2 decades, but I do know that when I do meet her, I will get a warm hug, because that's the kind of person she is. And the fact that she did not share her bio note also tells you about her, an extremely humble person. And it's been a privilege to have her. Thank you, Shalini, for doing this. And the rest of the journey, you will get to know more of her when Shalini speaks. With that, Shalini, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Shivani, for such an affectionate introduction. And yes, it's been tremendous sitting and listening here today on 8th March to Lily, to Bornali, to Vidhu Singh. It's been a very inspiring and a very reflective time for me. And I really thank the WDC of ARSTC College, Principal Professor Gyantosh Kumar Jha, all of you who are very patiently sitting and listening to all of us and our journeys. I'm sure there are as many inspiring stories out there with each one of you. And please hold on to them, believe in them and hold on to them. Go ahead with them with a lot of conviction and strength, girls or boys. All right, so I would like to I would keep it brief, and I would like to, as Shibani gave me the topic and the theme that we know is break the bias. And as I got on reflecting upon it, because you just go on living your day and you keep doing your job work and everything just goes on, but these are moments which make you stop and reflect. And I realized that being an actor, being a female actor from where I come from, I'll share my background, itself is about having broken the bias or still in the process of breaking the bias. And why I say that, one, that theater acting has a strong literary background. So, and cinema is part of the popular culture. And if you look at scripts, I mean, I'm sure there are students here who are doing drama and picking up scripts or studying them part of your English or Hindi or any other language course that you're pursuing. The presence of women is very limited. Female characters, overall, across the world, most literature, most languages is mostly limited. I come from Patna. I was born and I did my schooling from there. My parents are university professors. They were university professors over there who were culturally active. And I did my higher education from Delhi University, IP College, where Shibani and Lily and we grew up together, and then JNU. So our parents exposed us to what they thought was, kind of culture or literature that children should be exposed to, good cinema. And so that was part of exposure as growing up. And somewhere, I got very fascinated by stage. Cinema was never my things. I never watched films. I still don't watch too many films. But I got very fascinated by stage since I was very little. I remember watching Kabuliwala and Minnie on stage, and I was so fascinated how I couldn't imagine how the little girl becomes so, she becomes big at the end of the play. She's a big grown-up girl. So I was really fascinated. I was very tiny. I still remember that moment though. And second, where I say that in my choice or in what I'm doing now as a profession has been part of breaking the bias is in terms of aptitude. There are a lot of times, I mean, most of us must have gone through, sitting here who are there today as faculty or students, the choice of subjects, the aptitude of a child is generally, we do not get to exercise that. It's not just imposition. A lot of times we don't have it in the environment. A lot of times it needs resources. There are various factors to it, but aptitude doesn't get explored. Also in the way success is defined socially. I think, of course, it was a privileged background in terms of parents being very aware and very conscious. And but to begin with, my father was not at all confident about, he could see the signs that this one can get into acting, and he saw me as a good, bright student. He was a teacher himself. So obviously, he would talk to me about civil services and academics because he knew that I had a definite interest in arts. So I was never spoken to about science. That was good and great. I was never pushed towards that. But so he could see the signs, I think, now, and he was apprehensive. And he spoke to me about it, and he would gently try to discourage me from that. But it was there. I was doing my graduation, I was doing my post-graduation, I was doing my MPhil, I was constantly doing theater, and I was getting my grades only so that my father doesn't ask me to, stop doing theater and acting, because I really loved it so much. And I understand that today, that where his apprehensions would have come from, because it is a very uncertain profession, in the sense that for all our lives, we are freelancers. Whether it's a producer or even in the film industry, whether you're a producer or a director or an actor or a technician like a camera person or an editor, it's always a freelance job. you go from one project to another. Sometimes there are teams which do come together, but it's not exactly like working in an organization. There are like film production houses do have their HR and marketing teams and stuff, but for what I am doing, it's a completely freelance work. So I can understand his apprehension about it. And being a woman, we all of us who are sitting, and the way the news feed is filled with Bollywood news all the time, all of us, everybody has an opinion on the film industry. And to confess that I too had the same judgments before I started working here, especially as a woman. I was scared. I had fears about it being a bad place. I did have all of that. Now to come back to, a very special thing I want to mention, since there's been so much of a talk of camaraderie and sisterhood. My mother was a professor of Sanskrit in Patna University, coming from a very frugal, very simple background. She was a teacher, she was a lecturer, then a professor. She had a coterie, she had a group of friends. And these were women, again, like, we've seen Vidu talk. They're just doing their jobs. And in their jobs, they're living their personalities and creating and space and pushing boundaries. These women were like that. They were married with children. They were married without children. They were single women. They were divorced women. Fantastic, great committed teachers. All of them were very passionate about their work. A very strong sense of friendship. Like I feel I have been brought up by these set of women. Very respectful towards others. They had very strong convictions, but it didn't come across with aggression and fighting and putting other people down. It came with a tremendous sense of respect and dignity, first towards themselves and then towards other people. Extremely supportive towards students, men or women, male students or female students, very encouraging, very empowering. My own mother did a lot of work towards Bihar, women in Bihar sports. I was not at all in sports, so I was really not interested. I was happy with my theater and acting, and she was okay. But when my parents realized that I have, this definite interest and madness and passion for it, and they also realized that, yes, I was picking up good teachers, good directors and working with them, they supported me. They supported me. There was nothing ugly, unpleasant, and something that, before I forget, Vidu just spoke about that towards the end of her conversation. It's very important to receive support, but it's also very important to feel and realize, how can I be support to someone else as a friend, as a family member, as a professional, as a colleague, in what they are trying to do, in the way they are trying to push their boundaries, in the way they are trying to create a space, not in the way I would want them to do it. And there I feel it becomes very important again to understand aptitude, potential, believe in people's potential, because I am totally a product of that. So having said that, I mean, the theater journey is also very interesting, because I started doing professional theater when I was in school. My father was not very happy. He never scolded me in my entire life. He has never spoken in a rough tone ever to me, but I would run away and do theater. I would hide from the house. I would run away and watch plays also in my city when I was a kid. I was do that also. And I never got, and my mother became more careful about how to look after me. She realized this one's like weird. She has a tougher job at hand, which she did brilliantly. So theater groups, always, we were just 2 to 3 to 4 women or girls, as opposed to some 25 odd boys in a theater group. That was always the scene. And it would feel, we would get close. Of course, there were nice boys, and the theater directors I worked with were very fine directors, but this was a constant scenario. From Patna to Delhi to Bhopal, wherever I did theater. That despite theater being considered a progressive, a liberal space, it had the presence of very few women. It still is quite like that. In Bombay, it's a little different because people here come with a definite vision of becoming an actor, having a profession here. But that is a scenario everywhere. And yeah, I mean, was it tough? Not everywhere. Some places it was. It also depended a lot on, because you were very young, and a theater scene is led largely by the theater director. So the theater director's personal values, personal commitment, the personality becomes very important in determining the social functioning of a theater group. So there I had to, and I did exercise my wisdom and my choice at every step. If I didn't feel comfortable, I didn't bat an eyelid before leaving and walking out. And that again came from the confidence that I grew up with in my family as a girl, as a woman. And when I say this today, I was never brought up ever. I don't remember that, you are a girl statement being given to me. My parents were educated, so I take that as a privilege. Most of the girls I know in our society around the world don't have this privilege. Then, so this happened naturally. I went to an all-girls institution in my school, in my college. It was in MA that I came back to be studying with boys. And I feel, though I understand that, a co-ed is a good mix, balanced social interaction and all that. But I really cherish my all-girls and all-girls school and all-girls college, because all the jobs that the boys would be doing in other schools and colleges, we did it. We learned to do the lights. We learned to pull the ladder and get on and do everything, actually. So I really am very, very happy that in hindsight that I spend my education, some part of it, in all girls, because there were no boys to help us out with what women couldn't do. We just had to do it and get it done. So that, now coming to the film industry, we know that we all are, most of us are, we consumers of what is being made here. Things have been changing in terms of storytelling. The OTT has been a big game changer. I don't need to expand on that. We are experiencing it. The kind of stories that are being told is changing. The audience is liking a story like Masaan, or, that worked very well for the audience. So there is a process of shift which has started. Has it reached where it should have? No, not at all. There's a very, very long way to go still. So in my journey here, it started with People Live, which, there are these definitions like stereotyping, which we know, and I understand that there's a lot of stereotyping in society, and more so around men have it too. And women have it a little more, I guess. And the same stereotyping reflects on screen, in story writing and on screen. There are writers and directors who, again, push those boundaries. And I have been very fortunate to have worked with some of these writers, directors, and on some of these projects and had the opportunity to play some of these parts. Like a People Live, the woman comes from, and when I talk about bias, I talk about class. I think of class, I think of educational background, I think of caste, gender. I mean, sorry, in the gender space, there are all these factors which are at work, because when you're trying to portray a character, you're trying to bring something to life. You're trying to make it as close to what real life is. So I have tried to, in my personal choice, that is what I have. My choice is my agency. There are lots of things which are getting done. And in my choice, I look at whether the character, first, whether the script itself is gender sensitive or not. And whether it is, if it's regressive, I just don't do it. And because it's an industry, so all kinds of things are being made. Not to judge that, And there is all kinds of an audience. Who am I to judge what somebody likes? I'm no one to do that. My job is only to see what is my choice based on who I am in terms of the kind of value system that I would personally like to uphold. Whether this story is gender sensitive or not, whether the character that I am playing has agency, or in the larger scheme of the story, the film or the character has the potential to start some kind of a dialogue somewhere. Is it breaking stereotypes in certain ways or not? I do look at these things, and Peepli Live was something that Shivani mentioned, that she is from the real economic margins of society. There's nothing, she has no power whatsoever, but that woman has agency. She speaks her mind in the story. And in the end, that's what we see, and that's reality, that she, in the whole social structure, that woman has no say or space. No, she's not seen. In society, we don't even see such women. Then even in Gurgaon, which spoke about female feticide, and it spoke about patriarchy and gender roles in men and women, the woman that I played was quite at the oppressive end of everything, till the time when she almost explodes with it. And maybe that's her agency. That's what a woman in her situation would do. I, as part of after my higher education, I was also working and in the development sector, and I had the opportunity to visit women cells in the Tihar prison and the mental health institution in Shadra. And there are women there, I mean, who are pushed to such, your back is so much against the wall in terms of exploitation and oppression. And you're a human being, your responses are human responses. So one thing that, because in scripts, there's one tendency to glorify like a goddess, or to totally push the woman towards being a vamp. So, but there's life in between. That's where life happens. Life doesn't happen at the extremes, is what I think. Similarly, in Kantabai, and Kantabai, two things really, which is part of the Sacred Games season on Netflix, is that what really intrigued me was that one, we know there's been a bias about women actors in history. For the longest time, we didn't have women acting on stage across culture in Shakespeare plays or the folk traditions of India. Women didn't go on stage. So there are those things, and then it's considered as a profession also. There's a bias that it's a casual profession. It's a non-serious kind of, those are the general notions. What really intrigued me about Kantabai was that as a woman, she runs a theka on her own ground you don't see men around her. And there was something very interesting, which I don't know whether the audience mostly, I think, hasn't noticed. She does wear a Mangal Sutra, but there is no reference of her husband in the entire show. And I was waiting after I played that character, is it going to be noticed? It wasn't. And that was the victory. That there is a woman with a big, Kantabai dresses up solid. She has a Mangal Sutra hanging, dangling, and because she moves very briskly. But no one asked about her husband. Husbands are not bad. I have a great husband at home, and I cherish him very much. But this whole understanding that we've had traditionally of a woman being defined by the male around her. And I was so thrilled when, there was just no conversation about that with Kantabai. And of course, that she helps. She's the business mind for the protagonist. And, where the environment I come from, it's normal. That I have seen my father's sisters being advisors in the family business. But I understand that in the world, it is not. So there's a woman who is giving this business advice to this big gangster, and the man believes in this woman. All those were points of conversation that show did generate. So then again, Ludo was very interesting for me, because Anurag Basu was talking with a writer and director about a head nurse in a small town. She is completely fulfilling her duty. She is very committed to her work. She is fearless. She's not scared of this gangster as far as her job is concerned. And but she is her own person. She does what she wants to do in her own time. She lights a little cigarette and sits in a corner. She is seeking love in her personal life, and she stands up against this gangster when he, runs away or messes around with her. And the vulnerability and the love that a woman seeks or a man seeks. As human beings, we need love and affection in our lives to grow. So it was again a very interesting character to explore. And about the industry, I mean, all of us know that because it's a very exposed business. In my personal case, I think I didn't plan it or think about it like that there's always a talk at what age does an actor join the film industry, especially a female actor. I joined very late. And I'm getting to do some really enjoyable parts with great filmmakers. Then there's a lot of pressure on appearance. We know that actually the beauty standards are defined almost by the film industry, hair or makeup or whatever we call it. And there's a lot of pressure on men and on women, age and appearance. And again, so, I mean, in my case, somehow it has worked till now. And also that's something that one really tries to look at, which all the speakers have brought in some way or the other, is like, has the woman been written with judgment, or has the woman been written with respect and dignity? That is something very important to me. And I do look at scripts like that. And there are filmmakers who are writing things like that now. So there are actors like us who get an opportunity to play these characters. And one tries to do it with as much empathy, with the least amount of judgment that one can, put all those judgments, because my mind is also, the conditioning is all seeped in. So it has to be looked at very consciously. And I mean, looking at the industry, we know that now we see more and more of what is called the de-glam roles, which actors are doing, being appreciated. More and more needs to be written about the de-glam women, I feel, because sometime back I was reflecting my Pipli life, the characters that I have played, Pipli life or Shanghai or Gurgaon or Kantabai or Ludo, I am so proud to be standing in for women who come from the background that these women come from. The class, the educational background, most of the characters I have played are not educated characters. And I'm so proud that I stand in and give voice to these women. And I bring in visibility to these women in society. And I hope I get more opportunity like that. And then there is one another shift, which, maybe outside people don't come to know about it so much, that earlier I was not a part of the industry then, that you just wouldn't see women on sets at all. It would be just the actor, female actor, and a hairdresser. There would be no one else. All jobs, a set is like of at least 200 to 300 people on set on a working day average. And I hear that there would be just no women in sight. That is changing. They say that I see a lot of women on set, still not the number that we would like to see, still not equal, but it's definitely increasing. And another change which has happened, which I see too. So, there is direction, there is camera, there is costume, there is lights, there's sound, there's editing. Now, these are called departments. So every department has an HOD, like the different subjects of the university. Now we see women HODs, women DOPs, women editors who are heading their departments. So women in position of authority, women who call the shots. That's increasing in the industry. Equal pay for female actors is still a conversation, and it's still, we don't know. And washrooms, yes, everybody has talked about it. I mean, seriously, that is it. I have heard like senior actors like Helen and Wahida Rehman talk about it, that they didn't have washrooms on set, so they didn't drink water throughout the shoot. We are in the same situation at times. Really have to put our foot down. They don't get it. It's not that people are trying to be nasty to us. It's like what Vidhu was talking about. That's how it was before we walked in. So it needs like, okay, we are here and there's menstruation and and we are in costume and whole lot of things going on. And so, yeah, conversation is, or dialogue is the way out, I guess. And yeah, like Lini mentioned, I do miss out on a lot of networking opportunities like happy hours and the sports things which happen, a whole lot of things. So that is there, but I am confident. I really believe in who I am and what I have been made as a product of my parenting, my education, my exposure. I want to stand by it. And also as an actor or as an artist, it's a pretty solo journey at times. It's a very individual journey. When I get into doing a project, I'm part of a setup. Otherwise, I'm on my own. And there, I guess, my personal strength, my personal value system, my personal reading, my personal exposure becomes really important. That is what nurtures me and strengthens me. And yes, I'm also, I am where I stand today here, which I never planned to. I didn't want to work in this industry because I had my own bias towards this industry, which is broken down by working with the human beings that I have worked with, or artists that I have worked with. They're very fine artists. They're very hardworking people, very respecting and respectful people. So yes, that's what it is. And, as I've been sitting through this entire session, that, Women's Day, we look at it historically, is a day of reflection. It's a day of transformation. It's a day of humility, of strength, of camaraderie, of finding inspiration with each other and within myself. And, the determination that, yes, my mother and my grandmother and everyone's grandmother here and mother, they have pushed boundaries and they have done it on a day-to-day basis in their homes, in their kitchens, people who are homemade, and they're doing it even today. And that's how we have to go ahead. That's how I look at it personally. And thank you so much. It's been really nice to sit here on March 8th. Otherwise, this wouldn't have happened for me. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Shalini. That was wonderful, and you spoke from your heart. And sort of, I think each one of our speakers has done that, and I think it's been an extraordinary journey. And so much of who you are, I think, comes across in not just the roles that you have played, and but also in what you say. And I think that is something to take, for each one of us to take home as well. That I think a lot of the hashtag breaking the bias is, first, I think we need to find ourselves, we need to find out who we are, and and I think, yeah, in the end, what Shalini said about also giving others a chance. I think sometimes our own biases stand in the way. So to give everybody a chance, and I think we ask for little things just to be ourselves. I think if every woman is just allowed that much, if she can just do that, just be herself. If you just look at our panel, and that's just representative of a minuscule number of these amazing achievers out there, and see what women can do. So I think this is my pet line, that gender issues are not women issues, they are human issues. So if you're just a little more human towards each other, I think not just biases, I think a lot can be achieved. And I think the whole place can become just a nicer place to live in, and we'll bequeath a much nicer world for you youngsters, and for our children, your children to live in. So thank you so much for doing this, Shalini. It was amazing to have you over, to although virtually, but I think this is also, we've been talking about a lot of inequities because of the virtual mode, about everything going online. But this is, I think, one big positive. I mean, of course, it's it's something that is accessible only to those who have an online connection and things like that. But that we were able to do that. So I'm glad that has happened. Thank you so much. And I would, before I request Nidhi to give the formal vote of thanks, just a little announcement. We had a poster making competition with the theme as Break the Bias, of course. The winners are: first prize goes to Shidba Zilf from English Honours, final year. The second prize goes to Vibhor Vanvani from Economics Honours, first semester. And the third prize goes to Ananya and Joseph from English Honours again, first semester. So it's good to see many first semester students participating, making making the best of college life, because this is what it is about. Attending classes, all of that is important, but all of this is, I think, what makes the college experience so much more meaningful. Nidhi, the stage is yours to give the vote.
Thank you very much, Shivani. It was really nice to hear all the experts, really. So it's my privilege to propose vote of thanks speech and acknowledge the contribution of those who worked really hard to make this International Women's Day happen. First of all, so on the behalf of Atmaram Sanatan Dharma College and the entire fraternity of the college, I extend my sincere thanks to Almighty God for making today's event a resounding success. And on the behalf of ARST College, I extend a really hearty vote of thanks to our chief speakers of the day, Miss Lily Pandya, the civil servant, Miss Bernali Das, head of corporate communications, Wing Commander Vidhu Singh, and last but not the least, the Shalini Vats, the actor, who spare time from their busy schedule and to grace the occasion. So today we had the opportunity to hear all these experts, all these speakers. My gratitude to all of you for gracing this occasion and sharing their opinion today. Secondly, I'm immensely thankful to our principal professor G.K. Jha, who is the driving force for organizing these types of events in our college. Next, I would like to mention my deepest sense of appreciation to Dr. Shivani, the convener of WDC, for taking initiative and to organize this event. Dr. Movin Jhera, Dr. Preeti Jain, Dr. Manisha, Ms. Swati, and Mr. Rajkumar Bhagat, who are the members of our WDC team, and for their continuous efforts and for making this event successful. My special thanks to all the faculty members of the college who joined this webinar, who joined this event and made this event a success. And event like this International Women's Day cannot happen overnight. The wheels started rolling weeks ago, and it required planning. And the students are the like key persons who executed this planning. So my sincere thanks to students. I would mention Ishika, Kadian, Shitpa, Zilf, Isha Adhikari, then Srishti Rawat, Laya, Kusum Verma, and all the students who made this event a success, and the participants also who made this event a success. Last but not the least, a big thank to all of you, to each one of you who made this event a memorable day for all of us. So with all this, I extend my hearty thanks to all of you for making this event a memorable one. And best wishes for your career, for your days ahead, and for your life. This is all. So with this, I close this. Thank you to all.
Thank you so much, Nidhi. Thank you. It was so wonderful to be doing this on Women's Day, and because right from the morning, you switch on your phone, and there are all these discounts and, all these, WhatsApp messages, about, 20% discount on that, and how I should go and color my hair and have many drinks and whatever, as if, it's so easy for women to find the time. And if they have the time to have the money to do that kind of, thing that is taken for granted, I think, that itself. And at the same time, then there are all these biases that we have to work with. So, well, I think the world expects us to be super achievers. So I think we have to prove a point. We have to be super achievers. So let's just break the bias. Let's do this. It was wonderful. Thank you so much, Vidhu. Thank you, Shalini. Thank you to my wonderful team, women holding up each other, just chipping in if anybody had an issue or a problem. Thank you so much. Thank you to our principal. Can't thank him enough. And everybody, this was wonderful. Happy Women's Day.
Happy Women's Day to all.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Have
you.
fun.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks.